So what if you're not failing, but quietly getting in your own way? Like, what if the problem isn't actually what you do, but what you avoid?
Yeah, that is a completely disruptive thought to start us off. It really flips the script.
Right. I mean, we spend so much of our lives obsessing over our output. We
Yeah.
track our habits. We color code our calendars.
We read endless articles on how to optimize our mornings. And when we don't hit our goals, we just assume we didn't push hard enough.
Exactly. We think we're just not trying.
Right, but we rarely pause to consider the invisible forces that actively pull us backward, especially right when we're standing on the edge of something genuinely good.
And every day, millions of us stand right on the precipice of the exact thing we've been begging the universe for, and then we just inexplicably turn around and run in the opposite direction.
It's so common, and it's heartbreaking to watch.
It really is. So we're doing a deep dive into that exact phenomenon today, looking through all this psychological research, the therapeutic models, the behavioral science we gathered for this.
There is a mountain of data on this.
Yeah, and the most striking takeaway from all these sources is just how much shame we carry around this. We look at our own derailed plans and we just label it as a character flaw.
We absolutely do.
Mhm.
We tell ourselves we're just lazy or, we lack discipline.
Or that we're just fundamentally broken somehow, like we are missing a piece that everyone else has.
But the literature completely reframes this. It's not a flaw at all. It is a deeply ingrained psychological survival mechanism.
Which is such a compassionate pivot. I love that framing.
It is. Because when you look at the mechanics of self-sabotage, it is rarely about a desire to fail. It's about a desperate, unconscious need to stay safe.
Safe, that's the key word here. I was actually trying to visualize how this operates in our day-to-day lives, and I keep coming back to this analogy of a home thermostat.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it. How does that work in this context?
So think about moving into a house, and the thermostat is set to a comfortable, familiar 70 degrees. That's your baseline.
Right, the temperature you're used to.
Exactly. That is the temperature your nervous system knows how to resist in. Now, say you start doing the work. You get a new job. Or you start a healthy routine.
Or you meet someone amazing.
Yes. And the house starts getting warmer. It gets to 75, then 80 degrees.
Because things are getting better.
Right. But even if that warmth represents love or unprecedented success or deep, genuine happiness, the system doesn't register it as good.
It just registers it as too hot.
Exactly. It's a deviation from the baseline. So what happens? The air conditioning automatically kicks in to aggressively cool things back down to the familiar 70 degrees.
It forces you back to what you know.
Right. We are essentially doing the exact same thing with our own joy. We get a little too happy, the internal alarm sounds, and we subconsciously act to return to our baseline.
The thermostat analogy is brilliant because it captures the automatic nature of it. You aren't doing it on purpose.
No, it's just a machine doing its job.
Exactly. The nervous system registers the unfamiliar as a threat, period. It doesn't matter if the unfamiliar is a promotion or a loving partner.
Wow. So it literally can't tell the difference between a real threat and a good thing.
It really can't. And the fascinating thing is how this plays out in ways that slip completely under our conscious radar.
Because no one wants to actively ruin their life.
Right. If you ask someone if they want to ruin their own life, of course they'll say no. We don't wake up and consciously decide to blow up our relationships or our careers.
It happens in these incredibly small, subtle, almost justifiable choices, right?
Yes, very justifiable in the moment.
Yeah, and those choices show up in everyday life in ways that just feel deeply frustrating and confusing for the person doing it.
If you're listening to this, you might know the exact feeling we're talking about.
Definitely. It's starting a massive project with incredible enthusiasm, pouring your heart into it, getting 80% of the way there, and then...
Just entirely abandoning it.
Yeah, you just put it in a drawer and never look at it again.
Or it's sitting on your couch, scrolling on your phone for 3 hours.
I've been there, feeling this mounting knot of anxiety in your chest.
Because you know there is one single task you need to do that would actually move your life forward, but you just cannot make yourself stand up and do it.
It's paralyzing. Or it's convincing yourself yet again that you are simply too tired to go for a run, even when you know with absolute certainty that it makes you feel better.
Or suddenly picking a fight with a loving, supportive partner completely out of nowhere.
Right, over something ridiculous like the way they loaded the dishwasher.
It's agonizing when you're caught in it. Let's look at the mechanics of those specific patterns, starting with procrastination. Because the source material is really illuminating here.
Yeah, let's break that down because we usually just call it poor time management.
We do. But the psychology differentiates between active procrastination and inactive or passive procrastination.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Well, active procrastination is when you intentionally delay a task because you legitimately work better under the adrenaline of a looming deadline.
Like, you can bang out that paper in 3 hours if your back is against the wall.
Exactly. You're still in control of the delay. But passive procrastination is pure agonizing avoidance.
That sounds a lot less fun.
It is. You delay because the task feels emotionally aversive. Maybe you have a low sense of self-efficacy.
Meaning you just don't believe you can actually do it well?
Right. You simply don't believe you can execute it, or there's a profound fear of failure, so you postpone action until the very last possible moment.
And the whole time you're avoiding it, you aren't actually relaxing, are you?
Not at all. You're carrying this immense, heavy burden of intense guilt and anxiety.
So, if I'm endlessly scrolling social media instead of doing my taxes or writing that scary email, it's not because I'm just easily distracted.
No, it's an emotional regulation problem.
I'm using the delay to literally numb out and avoid the feeling of inadequacy or anxiety that the task brings up.
Exactly. You are managing your emotions, not your time. The scrolling is an anesthetic.
Wow. That hits hard.
And this dynamic extends directly into how we sabotage ourselves professionally, too. When we look at the research analyzing subtle career traps, you see these behaviors that masquerade as positive traits.
Oh, like what?
Well, perfectionism is the most common one.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on that for a second. If I'm working on a project and I'm endlessly tweaking the font, rewriting a sentence for the 20th time, trying to get it absolutely flawless,
Right.
that feels like dedication to me. That feels like I'm a hardworking professional who cares about quality. Are you saying that's actually me hiding?
In the vast majority of cases where it prevents completion, yes. It's the ultimate camouflage.
Really? How so?
Well, perfectionism masquerades as high standards, but psychologically it functions as a shield. Think about it. If the project is never truly finished, it can never be truly evaluated.
Oh, wow. And if it cannot be evaluated, I can't be found wanting.
Exactly. You cannot be criticized. You are trading completion for temporary emotional safety.
That is wild. You're saying I'd rather be stressed and infinitely tweaking this document than hand it over and risk someone telling me it's not good enough.
That is precisely what you're saying. It's a preemptive defense.
That makes so much sense. It really does. And I imagine it ties directly into another trap we see all the time in the workplace, which is isolation and silence.
Oh, absolutely. The refusal to collaborate.
Right. Like when you never speak up in meetings, even when you have a genuinely great idea. Because the fear of being judged or the fear of someone poking a hole in your idea completely outweighs your desire to contribute.
You'd rather be invisible than be exposed.
Yes, it's safer in the shadows.
Which is the core mechanism of the imposter phenomenon.
Ah, imposter syndrome. We hear about this constantly.
We do, but let's look at what it actually is. It's that sinking, persistent feeling that you're just faking it.
That everyone else got a rule book for life that you missed.
Yes, and that eventually the people around you are going to figure out you're a fraud.
It's an exhausting way to live.
Very. And the psychological assessments of imposter syndrome detail 3 main drivers we should talk about.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, there are intense doubts about achievement. This manifests as massive over-preparation.
Like studying for 50 hours for a 10-minute presentation.
Exactly. You feel you have to work 3 times as hard as anyone else just to justify your basic presence in the room.
And the second driver?
Second is perceived discrepancy. This is a subtle but devastating one.
What does that look like?
You achieve something great, and your immediate internal narrative is, well, I just got lucky.
Or, they only gave me the promotion because they were desperate and no one else applied.
Right. You actively discount your own hard work and competence.
You're literally stealing your own joy in real time.
You are.
You're refusing to internalize the win because internalizing it means you might be expected to replicate it tomorrow.
Yes. The burden of sustained competence feels too heavy.
Wow. Okay, and what's the third factor?
The third is self-handicapping. This goes back to the procrastination we discussed earlier.
Leaving important tasks to the very last minute.
Right, because it provides a built-in psychological excuse.
Oh, I see. If you wait until the night before a huge deadline to start working and the result is mediocre, you can tell yourself a story.
You can tell yourself, well, I didn't really try. If I'd given myself a month, it would have been brilliant.
That is so sneaky. It completely protects your ego from facing the devastating possibility that your absolute best effort simply wasn't enough.
It's incredibly sophisticated. The mind is amazing at protecting us from perceived pain.
It really is. And honestly, it doesn't just happen at work, it happens in our most intimate spaces, too.
Yes, in our personal lives.
And I think relationship sabotage is arguably the most painful kind because it involves the people we care about the most.
It affects the people closest to us.
It's just so deeply confusing when you find yourself actively damaging a connection you genuinely want. Like, why do we do that?
The clinical research shows this manifesting in some really jarring ways. It can look like subtle gaslighting, for example.
Creating confusion on purpose.
Yes, creating confusion to maintain a sense of control when you feel emotionally out of your depth.
Or it's excessive criticism. This is a big one I wanted to bring up.
Oh, the nitpicking.
Yes, where you suddenly start hallucinating the ick. Like you find these tiny, meaningless faults in someone you deeply care about.
Like the way they chew their food.
Exactly, or their laugh, or a specific shirt they wear, and you inflate it to create emotional distance.
Or you just pull away completely. You create a wall of silence the exact moment things start to feel truly intimate and safe.
But why? Why do we pull away when we finally feel safe?
Because intimacy is fundamentally dangerous to a hypervigilant nervous system.
Because it requires lowering your defenses.
Exactly. Intimacy requires vulnerability. When you pull away, or when you suddenly find your partner annoying for no rational reason, it's a profound defense against that vulnerability.
You are subconsciously pushing them away before they have the chance to see the real you and potentially reject you.
You're controlling the rejection. You're beating them to the punch.
Man, if you're listening to this right now and you're recognizing your own reflection in these patterns, I really want you to pause for a second.
Yes, this is a crucial moment.
We need to make a critical shift right here. Please hear this. This is not laziness. You are not a defective human being.
You are not broken.
Not at all. What you are experiencing is unconscious self-sabotage. You are reacting to an invisible internal alarm system that is trying to save your life, even though your life isn't actually in danger.
That is the absolute core of the psychodynamic perspective. We have to understand that the human brain is not wired to make you happy.
Which is a really hard truth to swallow.
It is, but the brain's primary evolutionary directive is to keep you alive.
Yeah.
To keep you safe.
And in the primitive, deeply emotional language of the brain, safety just equals familiarity.
Precisely. Even if the familiar environment is chaotic, chronically stressful, or deeply unhappy, the brain prefers it because it knows how to navigate it.
It knows the rules of that misery.
It can predict what happens next.
So it's predictability over peace. You will choose a predictable misery over an unpredictable joy every single time. Because joy feels like a wild card.
Exactly. The clinical term for this is psychological homeostasis.
Going back to our thermostat analogy.
Exactly the same principle. Your body sweats to maintain a physical temperature of 98.6 degrees.
If you get too hot, you sweat to cool down.
And if you get too cold, you shiver to warm up. Your psyche maneuvers in the exact same way to maintain a steady emotional state.
So when you start to make tangible progress, when you start to step into unknown territory,
Even if that territory is a loving, healthy relationship, or financial stability, or a highly successful career.
your internal alarm bells just start ringing.
They do, because the unknown is utterly terrifying to the nervous system.
So we subconsciously sabotage our progress to return to a familiar, albeit uncomfortable state of being.
We pull ourselves back to what we know.
It makes me think of someone wearing a heavy, thick, insulated winter coat in the middle of summer.
Oh, that's a vivid image.
Right. Imagine seeing that. That coat absolutely protected you during the bitter, freezing blizzard of your past. Maybe it was a traumatic childhood.
Or a string of abusive relationships.
Or years of financial panic. That coat kept you alive when the environment was harsh and unforgiving?
But now, the environment has changed.
Exactly. It's sunny, it's warm, you're safe, and that same coat is just giving you heat stroke. It's weighing you down, making you miserable and exhausted.
Yet if someone tells you to take it off, you refuse.
Because you are utterly terrified, it might snow again at any moment. You trust the heavy coat more than you trust the sunshine.
That is a deeply resonant way to understand it. It perfectly captures the tragic irony of what we do to ourselves.
We are protecting ourselves from a storm that has already passed.
Yes. Freud actually called this repetition compulsion. It's the unconscious, agonizing drive to recreate painful or disappointing scenarios from our past.
So we recreate the chaos because we know exactly how to survive it.
Precisely. If you grew up in a volatile home, or your last 3 partners were emotionally unavailable, You have a survival script for that.
You know the dance of chasing someone, being rejected, feeling anxious, getting a tiny breadcrumb of validation, and starting over.
You are an expert at surviving that specific pain.
But you do not know how to survive an emotionally available partner.
No. The consistency, the vulnerability required, the quietness of someone just loving you simply. That feels incredibly dangerous because you have no script for it.
You don't know where the landmines are hidden.
Exactly.
Because if you let an emotionally available person all the way in, if you take off the winter coat and truly crest the sunshine, and then the storm comes back,
If they leave, the pain would be unimaginable.
it feels like it would literally destroy you because your defenses are completely down, so you push them away first.
You initiate the pain on your own terms. You control the narrative.
You choose the certainty of a self-inflicted wound over the unbearable suspense of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
We prefer a miserable certainty to a hopeful uncertainty. That is the deep underlying psychology of why self-sabotage happens.
It's so sad, but it makes so much logical sense when you break it down like that.
It does, and it leads us directly into a concept that the literature, particularly the work of Gay Hendricks, calls the upper limit problem.
The upper limit problem, I want to spend some real time here because understanding this concept shifts everything about how you view your own happiness and your own anxiety.
It's a foundational concept in this field.
The premise is that every single one of us has an invisible ceiling on our capacity for happiness, for success, and for love.
We have a predetermined subconscious tolerance level for how good things are allowed to get in our lives.
And the moment we exceed that limit, our nervous system panics, we trip the wire.
And that panic is very real and visceral, even if your conscious mind is looking around saying, wait, this is great, I got the job, I met the person.
But your body is just flooding with stress hormones anyway.
Exactly. This upper limit is usually dictated by two core fears. The first is the fear of failure, which we've touched on.
Right. Sabotaging yourself before you can fail creates a very convenient psychological buffer.
If you do not give 100%, you never actually fail at the ultimate test of your abilities.
You failed because you procrastinated, or because you picked a fight, or because you drank too much the night before the presentation. You didn't fail because you lack talent or worth.
It's a protective shell for a very fragile ego.
Now, I get the fear of failure. That makes total sense to me. Failure hurts, it brings shame, it brings judgment, but the fear of success,
That's the tricky one.
that one is so counterintuitive. If I'm listening to this, I might be thinking, I am not afraid of success. I have been working 70-hour weeks for 5 years to get this promotion.
Or I've been on 100 terrible dates trying to find a good partner.
Right. Why would anyone be terrified of finally getting exactly what they have been begging the universe for?
It's counterintuitive until you look at what success actually demands of you. Success changes the entire landscape of your life.
It's not just a trophy you put on a shelf, is it?
No, it's an entirely new state of being. Success means higher expectations. It means more responsibility.
It carries the profound, heavy fear that you will not be able to sustain the achievement.
And that the higher you climb, the further you have to fall when you are inevitably exposed as a fraud.
The imposter syndrome comes rushing back.
Always. Furthermore, success can deeply threaten your current identity and your social connections.
How so? Like outgrowing people.
Exactly. Getting healthy, getting promoted, finding a happy relationship, it might mean outgrowing your current peer group.
It might mean alienating friends who are still deeply entrenched in their own struggles.
Sometimes it means betraying a deeply held family narrative.
Oh, that's a big one. Like if you come from a family that glorifies hardship and sacrifice.
Yes, if endless struggle is seen as a sign of moral virtue in your family, becoming wildly successful and happy feels like a betrayal of your tribe.
Wow. So success often feels like profound isolation.
It feels like stepping out onto a high wire without a net, completely alone.
So we stay on the ground, we stay in the familiar, messy struggle because it is crowded down here and we know all the rules of the game.
We know how to complain about the struggle with our friends. We don't know how to relate to them from a place of peace.
And looking at the psychological sources here, it's clear that this need for familiarity, the exact height of our specific upper limit, is often forged very early on.
It is. It originates in childhood trauma and our early attachment styles.
This is a vital piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
Extremely vital. When you look at studies on developmental psychology and trauma, you see how instability physically wires the brain.
And we aren't just talking about severe abuse here, right?
No, not at all. It could be emotional neglect, a volatile divorce, or just extreme emotional inconsistency from caregivers.
Like where they're warm one day and cold the next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If that is your environment, Your developing nervous system registers chaos as the normal baseline.
That child learns to be hypervigilant.
They are always waiting for the next crisis, always reading the subtle shifts in the room to anticipate danger so they can protect themselves.
Now take that nervous system, put it in an adult body, and introduce them to a calm, healthy, consistent partner.
Or a stable, supportive work environment.
It does not feel relaxing to them at all.
It feels highly suspicious. It feels actively unsafe.
It feels like a trap.
The nervous system is screaming that this calm is just a trick. It's the quiet before a devastating storm.
The brain literally cannot compute peace as safety.
It computes peace as a lack of data, a blind spot where an attack could come from.
That is so wild to think about.
So to alleviate that excruciating, unbearable tension of waiting for the storm, the mind uses defense mechanisms to cope with the perceived threat.
If the storm isn't coming naturally, we just manufacture the storm ourselves just to release the tension.
Just so we can say, ah, there it is, I knew it.
Yes, exactly. So we can be right.
And there are 3 very common psychodynamic defense mechanisms that frequently drive this self-sabotage.
Okay, let's go through them. What's the first one?
First, there's rationalization.
This is where we construct highly logical sounding, socially acceptable excuses for our destructive choices.
Exactly. We convince ourselves we work best under pressure to justify chronic procrastination.
Completely ignoring the massive toll the stress takes on our bodies.
Or we rationalize pushing a partner away by saying, well, we just need to focus on our career right now.
Classic excuse. What's the second mechanism?
Second is intellectualization. This is a very common one for high achievers.
Okay, what does that look like?
This is when we overthink and analyze a situation to death. We research every possible outcome, we read every article, we make endless spreadsheets.
Basically, to completely avoid feeling the underlying emotional vulnerability of actually making a decision and taking action.
You stay stuck in your head so you don't have to feel it in your body.
You're confusing gathering information with taking action.
Precisely. It feels like you're doing something, but you're really just hiding.
Okay, and the third defense mechanism.
Finally, there's reaction formation.
Reaction formation. That sounds complicated.
It's actually when you behave in a manner completely opposite to your true, terrifying feelings.
Oh, like when little kids tease the person they have a crush on.
Exactly like that.
Mm.
As an adult, it means you deeply, desperately crave intimacy and connection, so you push people away with abrasive, sarcastic, or aloof behavior.
You act like you don't care at all to protect yourself from the immense perceived risk of showing how much you actually do care.
It's a preemptive strike against getting hurt.
I really want to ground all of this heavy psychology in a story because when you synthesize these concepts, it makes them vividly, painfully real.
Stories help us see the pattern so clearly.
Right. So let's imagine someone, let's say a listener right now. Let's call this a hypothetical, but I know this will hit close to home for many.
I'm sure it will.
For years, you have dated emotionally unavailable people. It has been a relentless cycle of chasing, of extreme, intoxicating highs and devastating, crushing lows.
A total emotional roller coaster.
Exactly. You have lived in a state of constant humming anxiety about where you stand. You analyze every text message, but you got tired of it.
You decided you wanted better.
Yes, you went to therapy, you did the internal work, you read the books, you set your boundaries, and finally you meet someone incredible.
Someone who actually matches your new standards.
Yes. They are kind, they are consistent, they text you back when they say they will, they genuinely, openly care about your feelings without making you beg for it.
It is the healthy, reciprocal, safe relationship you have been dreaming about your entire adult life.
The absolute dream scenario, the reward for all that difficult internal work.
Right. It should be a happily ever after.
But instead of feeling a deep, settling sense of peace and joy, your nervous system sounds a blaring, deafening alarm.
The thermostat kicks in.
Suddenly, you feel incredibly claustrophobic. You start overthinking every single interaction. You find yourself sitting on the couch looking at this wonderful person, and you start nitpicking their small habits.
Looking for flaws where there aren't any.
Right. The way they chew their food suddenly makes you irrationally angry. The way they tell a story seems annoying. You start feeling a deep irritation for absolutely no logical reason.
The ick.
Yes, the ick. You might even pick a fight over something entirely trivial, like what to watch on TV, just to feel a spark of the old familiar friction.
You're craving the chaos.
Or worst of all, you feel a sudden, overpowering, almost physical urge to just pack your bags, ghost them and run away.
And you convince yourself that the spark just isn't there.
Or that it's too boring, or we just aren't compatible.
That scenario is a textbook illustration of how we operate when we hit our upper limit. What you just described isn't a story about someone falling out of love.
Or realizing they are fundamentally incompatible.
No. It is a story about someone whose internal thermostat is desperately trying to cool the room back down to the familiar freezing temperature of chaos.
This is so sad.
When things go well, we typically hit that upper limit in 4 specific ways. Let's look at them through the lens of your story.
Okay, let's break those 4 down. What's the first?
First is worry. Inventing problems that do not exist.
You look at this great partner and think, what if they leave?
What if they're secretly terrible? What if they are hiding something?
You are scanning the horizon for disaster because the current state of calm feels intolerable.
Exactly. You have to invent a threat to justify your anxiety.
And if you can't invent a threat, you move to the second way, which is criticism and conflict.
The nitpicking.
Yeah.
Starting fights over the TV remote.
This is an unconscious, desperate attempt to restore a familiar environment of drama and distance.
It creates breathing room when intimacy starts to feel suffocating.
It's bringing the drama back, because drama is the only language you know how to speak fluently in a relationship.
Exactly. The third way we hit the limit is deflection.
Deflection. How does that look in the story?
This happens when your partner looks at you and gives you a genuine compliment, or shows deep, unprompted affection. Instead of absorbing it, you brush it off.
Or you make a self-deprecating joke. They say, you look beautiful, and you say, oh, this old shirt, I look like I haven't slept in a week.
You actively refuse to let the good feelings land and be metabolized by your nervous system.
You bounce the love right back like a mirror so you don't have to hold the weight of it.
Yes. And the fourth way is overwhelm or shut down.
Just completely checking out.
The emotional intensity of a healthy, stable connection simply becomes too much sensory input for your nervous system to process.
So you disengage, you go numb.
You pull away completely, or you literally just go blank during a conversation to regulate your overwhelmed system.
It's heartbreaking, really, because you are fighting a war against your own happiness.
You are defeating yourself.
And you are hurting people who love you in the process. But here is the pivot in our deep dive today. This is where we shift toward profound, actionable hope.
Because we don't have to stay stuck in this. Awareness changes everything.
It really does. The very first and easily the most crucial step to changing these deep-seated painful patterns is realizing that you are not your patterns.
That is so important. These behaviors are a program running in the background.
They are outdated survival software. They are not your core identity.
You are not a self-sabotager as an identity. You are a person experiencing self-sabotaging patterns.
There's a massive difference between those two things.
And this is where cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, provides an incredibly useful practical framework for uncoupling your identity from your actions.
Right. The clinical material frequently relies on the ABC model for this.
The antecedent behavior consequence model. CBT teaches us that behavior is a learned pattern, a sequence of events.
It is not an isolated, defining act of your character. Let's break it down letter by letter.
Sure. The A stands for antecedent. That's the trigger.
It's the event that spikes your anxiety. It could be a moment of deep intimacy with a partner.
Or receiving a massive compliment from a boss. Or staring at a blank page to start a novel.
Then comes the B, the behavior. That's your conditioned response, the self-sabotage.
Picking the fight, scrolling on your phone, deflecting the compliment.
And finally, the C is the consequence. What happens next?
It's usually a temporary, immediate relief from the anxiety of the unknown, followed very quickly by the long-term pain of a damaged relationship.
Or a stalled career and deep, deep shame.
And the most important thing to realize here is that you cannot eliminate self-sabotage by just being tough on yourself.
No, you cannot just white-knuckle your way through it.
You can't stand in front of the mirror and yell at yourself to just do better or stop being lazy.
That is just more self-punishment, which increases anxiety, which triggers more sabotage.
It's a vicious cycle. You have to completely, radically suspend your heavy self-judgment and get intensely, gently curious about your own mind.
You have to ask yourself a very soft but penetrating question. What need is this self-sabotage filling right now?
That is the pivotal question of this entire deep dive. Every single behavior serves a function. It is doing a job for you.
Like, does your severe procrastination protect you from the crushing, unbearable pain of having your absolute best effort judged as imperfect?
Exactly. Or does your stress eating at midnight soothe an unbearable humming baseline of anxiety after a long day where you felt out of control?
Does picking a fight with your partner protect you from the terrifying naked vulnerability of being truly seen, flaws and all, and loved anyway?
You have to understand the function of the behavior, the exact need it is desperately trying to meet before you can ever hope to change it to something healthier.
It's exactly like trying to clear a garden. If you have a weed growing, you can't just rip it up by the leaves.
No, the roots are still there.
If you just yank the top off, which is the equivalent of yelling at yourself to stop procrastinating, the weed is just going to grow back tomorrow, and it will probably be stronger.
You have to look at the soil it is growing in.
You have to gently, patiently dig down into the dirt and pull it up by the roots. Awareness is the process of finding that root.
Once you see the root, the childhood trauma, the fear of abandonment, the desperate need for safety, the weed entirely loses its power over you.
It's just a plant in the wrong place.
And once that profound awareness is established, we can begin to implement a gentle, step-by-step psychological toolkit to slowly integrate healthier patterns.
The operative word here is slow.
Very slow. We are working with a delicate, hypervigilant nervous system that needs to feel absolutely safe during this transition.
We cannot shock the system with massive overnight changes, or it will rebel.
Exactly. So let's lay out those soft, actionable steps for the listener.
Okay, if someone is sitting in their car right now, or walking their dog, and they are ready to start pulling up the roots, how do we actually start rewiring this outdated software?
Step one is simply to notice your patterns without any judgment. Do not try to fix them immediately. Do not scold yourself. Just name the pattern when it happens, either out loud or in your mind.
When you feel that sudden irrational urge to run away from a good relationship, or that wave of panic when a project is going really well, pause.
Take a deep physical breath and ask yourself, is there actually a real, tangible problem here right now, or am I just hitting my upper limit?
Just naming the dynamic, saying to yourself, there's my fear of success flaring up again, often diffuses half of its power.
It immediately moves you out of the primitive reacting part of your brain and into the prefrontal cortex, the observing rational part of your brain.
You become the observer of your anxiety rather than the victim of it.
That is so powerful. Okay, what is step two?
Step two is about expanding your tolerance for happiness.
Expanding your tolerance for happiness. I know this sounds strange to say out loud, but it is deeply real.
It is. You have to start micro-shifting your capacity for joy, because right now, your body genuinely believes joy is dangerous.
So set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. During that time, practice just sitting in the good.
If you got a promotion, sit there and let yourself feel proud. If your partner did something sweet, let the warmth of that actually settle in your chest.
Let a compliment land without deflecting it or making a joke.
Just breathe and allow your physical body to experience positive emotions without immediately scanning the horizon for the next disaster.
You're stretching your emotional capacity millimeter by millimeter.
Okay, and step three.
Step three goes hand in hand with that. It involves tolerating emotional discomfort.
Because as you stretch your capacity for joy, the anxiety will inevitably spike.
We have to slowly build emotional tolerance for the negative feelings we usually avoid. Try the 20-second rule.
The 20-second rule, what is that?
When you are waiting in line at the grocery store and you feel that familiar itch of frustration or the overwhelming urge to immediately pull out your phone and scroll to distract yourself, don't do it.
Just stand there and sit with the mild frustration for 20 seconds.
Feel the physical discomfort in your body and realize that it will not destroy you.
You are teaching your nervous system a vital lesson. You can handle uncomfortable feelings without needing an immediate escape hatch or a self-sabotaging distraction.
It builds incredible resilience.
Step 4 is to clarify your visceral values.
Yes. When we try to change our lives, we usually set vague, abstract goals like, I want to get in shape, or I want to be more productive at work.
But those intellectual concepts do not anchor you when the emotional urge to sabotage hits hard, do they?
No, they crumble under pressure.
Yeah.
You need visceral, compelling, deeply emotional values.
Instead of getting in shape, your value might be, I want to run a 10K so I can feel strong, capable, and vibrant in my own physical body.
Or I want to finish this novel so I can finally hold my own bound book in my hands.
You have to connect your alternative healthy behaviors to a vivid value that actually lights a fire inside you.
It has to feel more important and more emotionally resonant than the temporary, fleeting release of sabotage.
That makes total sense. And the final step, step 5.
Step 5 is habit stacking.
This is crucial for not overwhelming the system.
Exactly. When you are trying to build self-trust and change deep-seated psychological patterns, do not overwhelm the nervous system with massive, sweeping life overhauls.
Don't decide to wake up at 4 a.m., run 10 miles, and write a symphony all in one day.
You will fail, and you will use that failure to justify more sabotage.
Instead, use micro habits attached to existing routines.
Tell yourself, after I brush my teeth every morning, I will journal my thoughts for exactly 2 minutes.
You attach a tiny, incredibly easy, positive action to an established, automatic habit.
Over time, these small wins accumulate. You begin to build a quiet but unshakable foundation of self-efficacy and self-trust.
You prove to yourself, action by action, day by day, that you can actually follow through on the promises you make to yourself.
You are slowly, gently proving to your own nervous system that you are safe.
And that you are strong enough to hold the good things in your life without dropping them.
Exactly.
As we wrap up this deep dive today, I really want to speak directly to you, the listener, with absolute clarity and deep compassion.
This is the most important takeaway.
If you have been caught in these cycles for years, if you have felt the agonizing frustration of watching yourself ruin good things, of stalling your own progress,
Please take a deep breath and really hear this. You are not broken.
you are not defective. You have not ruined your life. You have simply reached the edge of your current emotional capacity, and your soul is trying to expand.
That is the perfect way to frame it. Anxiety and discomfort during a genuinely good phase of your life do not mean that something is inherently wrong.
It does not mean the relationship is doomed or the new job is a terrible mistake.
It just means you are adjusting. You're acclimatizing to a new altitude.
If you climb a mountain, the air gets thinner, and your lungs have to work harder until they adjust.
Growth is inherently uncomfortable.
The discomfort you feel when things are going well is not a stop sign. It is a sign that you are moving forward into uncharted, expansive, beautiful territory.
It's a sign of progress.
I want to leave you with one final, profound perspective shift to ponder after you turn this off. Throughout this deep dive, we have talked a lot about fighting self-sabotage, overcoming it, rewiring it.
But what if your self-sabotage is not an enemy at all?
Right. What if it is actually a misguided form of profound self-love?
Consider this perspective. What if the part of you that ruins the job interview, or procrastinates on the big creative project, or pushes away the amazing, kind partner?
What if that part of you is simply a fiercely loyal inner bodyguard?
An inner protector that is standing in front of the vulnerable child inside you, holding up a shield, desperately trying to protect you from ever experiencing that old, familiar, devastating pain again.
It's not trying to ruin your life. It is using the only tools it knows how to use to keep you safe.
It's doing its best with outdated software.
Once you realize that your perceived enemy is actually just a scared, fiercely loyal protector running on outdated survival software from a time in your past when you were genuinely powerless,
Everything changes. The war inside you ends.
you can stop fighting yourself. You can gently, with so much compassion, thank that inner bodyguard for trying so incredibly hard to keep you safe all these years.
You can let it know that you see how hard it's been working.
And then you can gently tell it that you appreciate its service, but that you are an adult now. You have agency, you have new tools, and you can handle it from here.
And finally, with a deep breath and an open heart, you can give yourself permission to step fully into the light.
Think about that thermostat we talked about at the very beginning. What if you're not failing, but quietly getting in your own way, just trying to keep the house at 70 degrees because that is all you've ever known?
Maybe it is time to turn up the heat.
Let yourself be warm. Let yourself be happy. Let yourself be okay.
It is entirely safe now to experience the joy you have been waiting for. The familiar is comfortable, yes, but the expansion, the unknown, the warmth, that is where your life actually happens.
Take care of yourselves. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Keep noticing the patterns. Keep being incredibly gentle with yourself. And remember, the discomfort just means you are growing. Until next time.